Marketing, like a symphony, is a harmonious blend of instruments. But without the proper direction, it's just noise. Welcome to the Supply Chain Marketing Show, presented by Supply Chain Brain Media. From the art of storytelling to the science of data, we'll uncover marketing strategies that drive success. In this episode, Ralph Henderson and Russ Henneberry explore AI and supply chain marketing.
Where can AI really help me pick up some efficiency? What I do see is a lack of understanding of it. It's important to have a strong fundamental understanding of AI.
And now, here's your marketing guide and host, Ralph Henderson.
Is AI going to take our job or enhance our job? Hi, I'm your host, Ralph Henderson, and here we are on the Supply Chain Marketing Show. And today we talk about all things AI. Now, look, before you get nervous or even mad because you're either tired of hearing it or you don't know about it, please know that's the reason we're having today's show. We want to better help the supply chain marketing professional understand and apply. And so I decided to bring in a guru, subject matter expert to help us with that, to talk on the podcast. So Russ Henneberry from The Click, welcome to the Supply Chain Marketing Show.
I'm excited to be here.
So, let's talk AI, right? I mean, it's basically ubiquitous now. It's all over the place. So maybe give the audience a little bit, especially this supply chain marketing professional audience, a little bit on kind of how did we get here and where are we right now?
Well, I think the interesting thing is that AI has been around us for a long time. So the machine learning and predictable analytics side of AI has been around us forever, like with Netflix recommending the next movie you watch, or your bank detecting fraud on your credit card. A lot of AI is used in all these functions around us. What's new is generative AI. So November of 2022, we get ChatGPT sort of splashes on the scene, and they forced all the other major companies to put their cards on the table and say, here's what we've got, right? And so we saw a company called Anthropic release what they had been working on, which is called Claude. We obviously had OpenAI, which sort of was first lay their cards down, released ChatGPT, and then we had Google put out Gemini, started as Bard, and then went to Gemini, and then of course we have Microsoft, who released Copilot, and those are really your big four giants in the space. Everybody else is kind of building on top of these four frontier models.
Wow. And, it's kind of fun at the same time, again, a little scary, but isn't every revolution? I mean, I'm sure when the assembly line started up, people were feeling the same way. And, I'm old enough to remember when the internet really started to do this. And, people said, who needs the internet? Who needs a website? And I know that's an overused example, but it's true. I mean, when revolutions happen, there is some resistance to this. And so as somebody who's inside of this on pretty much a daily basis, what are you seeing as it relates to the resistance? And what are you seeing in relation to kind of I call it the resistance, because that's the second stage, right? You resist something before you accept it. So what are you seeing right now? And if you can, let the supply chain marketing professional know, regardless of where they are, that's okay, because what we're going to do is help them to get where they need to be.
Yeah, I think you might be shocked to find out, if you listen to this show, that you're probably an early adopter here still, right? There is not a resistance to understanding that AI is fundamental and that it's going to be a major shift. I don't see a lot of people disputing that. What I do see is a lack of understanding of it, a lack of training, a lack of solid adoption, right? I'm seeing people playing with it. I think at the beginning, people logged into ChatGPT and they're like, whoa, it can write a haiku, and it can write a Seinfeld episode in the voice of William Shakespeare. And we thought, oh, that's cute. And it's crazy that it can do that. But then we kind of just went back about our business, and really, what happened since then is that, the models have quietly gone about their business. They have advanced the intelligence of these models. They've advanced the functionality of the models. And if you look at where AI was when it first came out in November 22 and where it is today, it's pretty remarkable. So I think it comes to this saying that I think it was Amar Tolls or something like that is attributed to this quote, which is that we tend to, and I'm paraphrasing here, but we tend to overestimate the impact of a technology in the short run and underestimate the impact of that technology in the long run. I think that's very much happening here.
Yeah, and I can tell you, as somebody who mentors folks in the supply chain space, I use that line often where I tell them people often overestimate what they can do in a year and often underestimate what they can do in 3. And that doesn't surprise me that would be true for the technology. So let's kind of dive into AI and what it is. In your opinion, give us what you think is and I'm going to use your word, the core of AI, and let the audience know kind of what's the baseline. Let's level set here for everyone.
So when I looked at AI and play, I played with it for a long time. I've been in marketing for almost 20 years. And so when I saw, and I rode the internet wave all the way here, my whole career, right? And I saw it back then and I said, I'm jumping on this thing. This is big. And this is the next, big one. So I've been studying this very closely. And here's what I see is that AI has a set of capabilities. I call its core capabilities because we can use a little acronym to remember this. The first one is a C, which is that it can create things. It can generate new ideas, designs, content, things like that. The second capability is organize. It's really, really good at structuring, managing, and presenting information in a more efficient manner. The third capability is research. So it can gather and investigate, help you investigate and reach new conclusions, right, through research. And then the last one is evaluate, which is that it can look at things that you give it and examine it, interpret it, translate it, extract meaningful insights from it. So what I see right now is that most people are afraid of and experimenting almost completely with that C level capability, which is what can it create? And actually, I believe that is its weakest capability, even though it's got pretty impressive capabilities. Like we talked about, it can write Seinfeld episode in the voice of Shakespeare, and it can write articles. We know that, but its actual power is, in my opinion, in the organize, research, and evaluate capabilities.
Very interesting. And again, not uncommon with how we're, as an industry with the supply chain space, starting to think about it and use it. And so one of the things that I know I'm excited about, and I would love for you to maybe just talk a little bit about this, is Supply Chain Brain Media, who brings us the Supply Chain Marketing Show, also does a training initiative called the Global Supply Chain Marketing Group. And you're actually a part of that with a 3-part mini series on this, where you're going to do hour-long webinars and really dive into this. So without making this a glorified commercial, if you will, for that 3-part mini series, just kind of get the audience's appetite a little wet for maybe wanting to dive a little bit more into this and to be better prepared for 25, since that mini series is supposed to air between now and the end of 24.
Yeah, I think the frustration that I saw was that everybody was telling me and everybody else that the way to learn and get the most out of AI was to simply play with it. You got to go use it, they said. You've got to be using it to understand it. And I agree with that. It's just not super helpful, right? And so what I've done is I've gone and built training that allows marketers to actually have actual marketing use cases and go and use AI. And I typically think about it like a sandbox, right? So that I give marketing scenarios, We go in and we actually use AI in a create or organize or research or evaluate function, right? And so with these 3-part trainings, we're going to start very basic, right? We're going to start at the beginning, which is because I think it's important to have a strong fundamental understanding of AI. We don't get into how do large language models work and all these things. There's plenty of information on YouTube if you're interested in the science behind all of it. It's actually quite fascinating. But this is all how it relates to marketing and business, and how we can get the most out of AI, starting with the fundamentals and then gradually working our way towards a point where it's like, wow, I'm actually using AI to augment and improve efficiency at my company.
Right. So before we get into maybe some really cool, fun examples of how supply chain marketing professionals could apply this in what areas, because obviously, what we found out at the Global Supply Chain Marketing Summit that we conducted was there's these 5 areas, which are really indicated by these 5 rings that are up here. And that is, there's lead generation, there's branding, there's content development, there's online or SEO strategy, there's even earned media. And we want to talk a little bit about maybe how AI could help the supply chain marketing professional in those areas. But one of the things I think we have to talk about is we have to talk about what you think is like a concern, like what's the biggest concern or what's the issue as people start to look into this, so they're aware of that. And when they go through that, they don't necessarily feel discouraged or disillusioned.
So there's a fundamental idea in AI that I think most businesses are. I think a year from now, everybody will understand what I'm about to say. But by that time, people have dug quite a bit of moat in between you and them. So hopefully, if you listen to this, it kind of and maybe dig in on this particular concept, because what we're seeing is that every AI model is understanding that in order for its users to get the most out of that AI, they need to be able to customize it. They need to be able to tailor that AI to their circumstances. So if I use a real simple analogy, if I take a large language model that is ingested the entire internet and so therefore is extremely knowledgeable and capable, we've already talked about the capabilities, create, organize, all these things, right? And I plug into that AI's knowledge base my family recipes, right? So I take and I plug all my family recipes in there, and I'll tell you, I got some good ones. Like my marinara sauce, is a great recipe. If I plug all of those recipes into the AI, I can now have conversations with that AI model about my marinara sauce. I can ask it questions like, how could I improve this marinara sauce? I can ask it questions like, based on all the recipes that you see I have in this cookbook, what do you think I might want to eat tonight? That's a new recipe, right? And so that AI model is now customized and tailored to, by bolting on or adding my recipes. Now, if we move this back over to marketing, there are certain documents that we can take and plug into an AI and customize it. And this is not a technical process at all. The AI model, if you can attach PDF documents to emails, for example, that's all we're doing here. But what we're going to do here in order to tailor an AI to understanding a business is we plug in what I call the optimal primes. And I say optimal primes because they are the optimal things to prime any AI conversation about marketing about. And those things are your customer personas, your offers. So what do you sell? Who do you sell it to, right? And then a business profile. So what is this business? What does it sell? What are its goals? What's its mission statement? Those kinds of things. And these are literally just PDF documents that we plug onto an AI to give it the important context. The same context that any marketer at your company knows, right? Who are we trying to sell to? What are we trying to sell? And what is this business in the first place that we are marketing, right? Those 3 things. When you plug those things in, you take generic AI, which is what most people are using, and they're getting generic marketing output. And you plug those three things in, and you will suddenly be getting incredible output. And then when you start to take this concept further, what else might you plug in to an AI to help it do its job better, which is to help you increase efficiency as a marketer?
We'll be back after this brief message.
In today's complex supply chain, marketing has never been more critical. But are you leveraging the full potential of your marketing efforts? Supply Chain Brain Media created 2 resources to help you discover what's new and what works. The Supply Chain Marketing Group series is designed to educate you on services and how to implement them into your marketing program. On the Supply Chain Marketing Show, hear firsthand how experts are implementing the elements from the 5 rings of supply chain marketing to drive results. Ready to elevate your marketing game? Schedule a 30-minute consult today. Email Morgan at supplychainbrainmedia.com. Supply Chain Brain Media, your guide to marketing success.
You know, what you're touching on is just so important for the supply chain marketing professional, because really, when you think about it, you know, we can boil down what we do to a few things. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that we do is trade shows. Right. So in order to do a trade show effectively, I call it the P cubed approach, right? So you have the pre-show or the promotional, you have the production, which is the show, and then you have the post-show. And sadly, what happens, I think a lot of times, and I don't know if this is unique to the supply chain industry or not, but we tend to spend an inordinate amount of time in that middle P. And so the promotion and the post-show to some degree kind of suffer. So again, I'm just throwing this out there, you know, as far as AI is concerned, I can see AI helping me with the promotion. I can see it helping me with the post-show as much, if not more, than the production. Just thinking about that for the 30 seconds I've brought that up, where's your head as far as that's concerned, and how could the supply chain marketing professional be thinking about AI as it relates to that really important responsibility that they have?
Well, I mean, AI is you could consider it to be an assistant to you as a marketer. So really, anything that you can think of from a marketing perspective, first of all, we want to make sure that AI understands, you know, who's going to be at this trade show, right? Who are the personas that are going to be at this trade show? What are we actually trying to sell at this trade show? What ideas are we trying to get across at this trade show? What is this business that is, and then things we might plug into the AI for a project like this would be information about the show, information about your presentation from stage. Let's say that you're going to get, let's say you get 15 minutes on stage, anything that we can plug into it to give it context. And then we can sit back and start to have strategic conversations with it. We can have it create copy. We can have it come up with ideas. We can have it take the trade show agenda and organize, you know, a lunch schedule for everybody. Like, when we think about really any task in marketing, you want to take that and you want to break it down into its pieces. And then you look along there and you say, where can AI really help me pick up some efficiency here? So it you know, you could drop really any sort of campaign in there, whether it's trade show or an email campaign that you're running for a promotion that you're running, or whatever it is. You know, you're doing a content strategy. The more context
hold that thought. Yeah, hold that thought on the content strategy. Because the reason I brought up that line of questioning is I want the supply chain marketing professional who's watching or listening to this podcast to realize, look, for 33 years, since 1991, I have been in this space doing this stuff. Okay, so it is important because personas and audiences and what we do is I think something we could benefit immensely from AI. When we had the summit last year, the executives talked about how little they found out about us when they were doing research on the products and services that we were actually providing. In other words, they needed a specific product or service. Well, it was a challenge for them to find people who knew that they were their persona, knew specifically what it was that they wanted to talk about or say about that product or service. So I just want the supply chain marketing professionals to know that, this is an opportunity for us to do what we feel like we've been trying to do for years. And I'll tell you, Russ, one of the things that I have really been working on for my legacy is to eliminate this notion of somebody or a company being the best kept secret in the space.
Right.
As a matter
Yeah.
of fact, I said from the stage as the MC of that event, I'd like to make being the best kept secret not funny anymore.
Right.
Right. And so I don't want anybody to be put off by this. Again, like we said at the top of the show, it's almost like I want us to embrace this, because now, we can create these personas. We can be more clear. If content is king, clarity is queen. And we need to be more clear as to who we are and why our audience would want to know about us. So I really appreciate you digging into that. And that actually goes over to the second part of what I was going to talk about, and that is the content syndication. So if somebody's looking for our products and services, they're going to do just like we do when we're researching anything. They're going to see who's out there that's used us and what do they think of us in reviews. And they're also going to think or look at, what do we know? Like, what kind of content do we have? How trustworthy are we? So talk a little bit about that content syndication side that helps our audience, our prospects, become more connected with us using AI somehow.
Well, you when we think about content planning, right, we can think about its organized capability to help us ideate and organize things like editorial calendars, social media calendar, publication calendar, podcast, all, you name it. Like, if you give it the context that we talked about, it understands what we're trying to do. And then we go to it and we say, hey, I'm looking to create a social media calendar. You can even back up all the way into the research phase. Like, I'm looking at LinkedIn, I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at TikTok. Where do you think our market is? Well, if you've told it who your persona is, it's going to come back with some data. It's going to say, well, based on this, I would rank those three as, you spend time on LinkedIn, then TikTok, then Instagram, right? So LinkedIn's your top choice. So then your next conversation might be, okay, well, can you help me to organize a social media calendar around publishing to LinkedIn on a regular basis? It's like, yeah, of course. Like, and it's going to start to set that up. It can build a table. And start to come up with, I can start to ideate with you about, and the more context it has around what you're trying to do, the better that output's going to be. So when I think about creation, especially content creation, I use AI to ideate, to outline, and to draft, right? But never to produce the final output. So depending on what I'm working on, I might take it all the way into a draft. Right? If it's not something that I need my personal brand to come from, but I almost am always using AI at this point to help me ideate, to brainstorm with me ideas for podcast episodes or LinkedIn updates or what have you, right? And to help me stay organized, right? To build out a calendar where I can stay on task. And because, again, if we go back to this concept of it having an understanding the person you're trying to sell to and understanding what you're selling, you can ask the AI to keep the content focused on things that this person would care about, right? This persona would care about. You'd be shocked when you feed it a good persona at how dead on the types of content are that it and content ideas it will come up with when it has that context.
Yeah, and I love that you said it that way. You'd be shocked at how clear, because if I'm watching this or I'm listening to this, what I'm getting out of this is, AI, first of all, it's here, it's going to stay, it's going to be one of those things as a marketer, professional supply chain marketer. The more I can embrace this and learn it, the more powerful I become personally and professionally in the industry. That's kind of cool. Regardless of where we are in our careers, if we can get our head around this. Look, full disclosure, I went to AI to find out what questions I should ask Russ. So look, I mean, we're all using it. But I loved what you said about the core, the create, organize, research, and evaluate, because I think that's what I would get out of this as a supply chain marketing professional is, all right, great. I kind of and starting to get the create part, even though I don't have it totally. But now knowing it can organize, I can do research, I can evaluate, I can put together campaigns and programs as it relates to trade shows and content syndication. Well, now we're on to something. And now I have a tool that truly I can use. Before I let you go, any last nuggets, if you will, that you want to give the audience as it relates to AI, supply chain marketing, or the connection?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, if you're starting to get your feet wet with this, is to take a look at what you're doing on a daily basis and think about, where are the places, because it's not replacing your job,
Right.
And not anytime soon. In fact, if you can learn how to use this stuff, I think you're going to be very much in demand.
I agree.
It takes quite a bit of skill to actually learn how to really get some solid output out of this. So investing in, time and energy into training like you're doing right now, and staying interested and curious about all of these tools, I think that take you a long way.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And remember, one of the things Supply Chain Brain Media is going to do is they're going to produce a 3-part mini-series through their global supply chain marketing group. And Russ is actually going to facilitate that. In addition to the things that we've talked about today, he's going to get into the application. He's going to show you different, case studies. So there's going to be a lot of meat. And what we want is we want you to feel comfortable and confident. And please know, we didn't go into this podcast trying to create a 30-minute commercial for that 3-part miniseries. We wanted you to get some value out of today as well. But I will tell you, in the 3-part miniseries, he's going to talk about a lot more things. One of them is something he refers to as RTIF. And we're not going to go into that today. I'll just leave that as a little bit of a teaser, but it's not WTF. For those of you who know that, it's RTIF, and you'll learn more about that. Russ, I can't thank you enough for today. Looking forward to working with you more. Wish you the best, and thank you for all of your help.
Hey, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on, Ralph.
To discover how you can blend your marketing instruments into a harmonious sound and rise above the noise, schedule a 30-minute consultative session. Email morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. Again, that email address is morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. If you have any questions or episode suggestions, you can send those to morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Supply Chain Marketing Show presented by Supply Chain Brain Media. This is an omni-channel production in conjunction with PWE Media.